There is a new Coliseum venue. Today, Flight Rising released a new training fields. The training fields is levels 1 through 3. The old one, all of the art's been replaced. What the Coliseum is doing is it's really honing in on specific levels. So many of the venues are now just for one level, leaving just the first 14 levels in kind of grouped venues. For instance, level 1 through 3 is in the training fields. However, level 15 is only in Red Rock Cove. Along with this comes just a flood of new familiars. Flight Rising was teasing this with their social media posts that were pitting the Sweet Puff and the Rage Puff against one another. The Sweet Puff's item description is that it is the softest friend, while the Rage Puff's description is the Sweet Puff and Rage Puff are actually of the same species. Couples typically consist of one of each disposition, one doting parent and one ball of protective fury. However, as soon as they shared the GIF to Facebook, it became very apparent that the Rage Puff was going to win because the animation had an emotion, while the Sweet Puff did nothing except for just bop cutely. The Rage Puff actually emoted, which people absolutely love. So I wasn't very surprised when the Rage Puff won the Facebook competition. However, the Sweet Puff won the Twitter competition. I have to admit, whenever I see a bunch of familiars be released or an entire venue be released, I get a little nervous because I haven't been keeping up my bestiary like I should. So I have so many unfulfilled slots that I need to fill. I have only 481 familiars. So I decided to head to the Coliseum. I don't know if there's a body of study supporting whether or not you're more likely to get a familiar if you are in the level range of the venue, or if it's completely random, and if you are going in with a level 25 in a level 1 area, you're just as likely to get a familiar as if you were using a level 1. I decided to spend some time using both a team that is appropriately leveled, which in my opinion would be levels 1 through 3, and then I compared those sessions to when I went in with a team of level 25s who basically just one-shotted every single time. So I'm just gonna play that footage right here while I talk about some of the breeding stuff that I've been doing on Flight Rising, and also just generally talking about the viewer's choice bottleneck, because that's ongoing and I've been meaning to recap you guys on it. Ongoing bottleneck projects. I actually have 2 bottlenecks ongoing right now, something I call my Lair Legacy project and then the Viewer's Choice project. My Lair Legacy, I am 2 dragons away from completing, meaning I just need to pick 2 dragons, a male and a female, from my lair and just get them started on it. And then after a few months, like I think maybe 5 months, I should have this one completed. The dragons that are currently part of this are Barnegat, Elaine Moore, Feldman, and Ellie, which are all aging so much while I keep putting off working on this bottleneck. I really need to just make it happen. The other bottleneck that I'm working on is the one that you guys have been voting on this entire time. Very great. I'm very pleased with that. And these are just dragons. I pick their parents from the auction house, then I breed them, and then I would just throw them into the video and be like, hey, which one do you guys want to see survive? So there are some problems with this. Like, I haven't been balancing the sexes at all. So I have 4 females and 1 male, and I don't want to pair any of them up. I want to do that in like a voting forum. So that's another thing that I'm going to throw to you guys. So right now we have Ahuti, Sparklewing, Happy Pixie Stick, Queen Green, and a Batman. Now I want to kind of talk about what's going on with the survivor of my One Big Family bottleneck named Atum, because last time we left off, there's nothing going on with him and he was just kind of surviving in my lair. After breeding Atum, he's just been hanging out in my lair waiting for some kind of progress or anything. I have a whole bunch of Gen 1 dragons, so he's just kind of waiting around like all of them, wondering if I'm ever going to do anything with that. and I honestly get bored looking at the same dragons over and over again. Obviously, I don't want to gene them all. That's a very expensive activity. I have other things that I want to do with my treasure, like expand my lair and get familiars. So I don't really spend my treasure or my gems on gening dragons. I did make an exception with Atum. I believe he didn't have anything except for eye spots, and I decided to make a subspecies. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this. This is a thing that people do on the forums, usually for lore purposes. However, I was like, I want to actually do something that you can tell from bloodline, right? Like, I want it to be a measurable attribute of a dragon. I took Atum and I gave him metallic alloy stained. I bred him and he has 3 offspring. A dragon that is related to Atum is going to be part of this subspecies. That is going to be pretty rare because there's only so many dragons that he can breed with. Obviously, there's limited time. Every 30 days he can breed. He's ready to breed now, but waiting for the mate that I've chosen for him to be ready to breed as well. So he's the progenitor of an entire subspecies. And this is notable because he was bottlenecked, so there are no dragons that are related to him except for his direct offspring. So I really haven't decided how I'm going to handle his offspring, but what I've been doing is really trying to celebrate this entire lineage aspect instead of the individual dragon. So on the dragon's pages, on their descriptions, I'm adding tidbits about their lineage, like who they're related to, who they're descended from. And I've done this with a few of my dragons. First of all, Atum, but then also Lilac, who is a wild claw that was gifted to me. I'm very much appreciative of that. Thank you. So I traced the lineage back to their first ancestor on the site. I've done this with a few of my dragons, and I really like that. I know in a video a while back, I decided that I was going to focus to dragon focus breeding, but I'm going to switch back to that lineage focus breeding just because I just find it more interesting and fulfilling to think more about the entire bloodline than just the individual dragon. It doesn't do much for me to think of the individual dragon because I would rather replace dragons and constantly have new dragons than keep working on the same dragons. I really don't know what that's going to mean for my Gen 1s because I just have so many of them, and so many of them are gifts, so I feel guilty, like I feel like I can't get rid of them, but at the same time they don't really mean much to me. Like, I've got some that have really cool colors. I mean, if they're not doing anything for me, like if they're just rotting in my lair, I don't really know what to do with them. I might just bottleneck them or something. I don't know, breed them, then exalt them. I mean, I feel guilty doing that, clearly, but at the same time, I can't be beholden to other people's expectations of what my lair should be. I mean, I feel like a gift dragon becomes my possession, and I could do whatever I want with it. But I also don't want to, like, obviously make people upset if they spent, like, so much treasure on a dragon to give to me and then I get rid of it. Like, obviously I feel bad about that. So it's not really something I've done anything with yet. Keep that in mind. I'm trying to breed as much as my dragon lines together as possible. Right now I have so many dragons in my lair that are just not related, so I'm trying to cut down on that as much as possible. For those of you who are unfamiliar with how Flight Rising dragon breeding works, your dragon cannot breed with anyone that is 6 degrees of separation from them, so there can't be inbreeding, but you can try to get those lines very close. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm trying to reduce the amount of dragons in my lair. The way I do that is I will breed 2 dragons and then I will look at their offspring, and if the male parent, the father, had a son that is like better than the father, then I will exalt the father and keep the son. Otherwise, exalt or sell the son, and the same with the mother for the daughter. And usually there's a surplus of babies for each nest. I'm trying to come up with some ways to get rid of some dragons as well. If you look at my lair, you'll see that I have a lot of dragons with names that starts with A's, B's, or C's. Dragons with A names are dragons that are in their first generation in my lair, and I'm going to be getting rid of as many of those as possible. They're usually temporary dragons. Then B is second generation, C is third generation, so on through the alphabet. Obviously, you can't just keep inbreeding dragons forever. Plus, as I mentioned, I want to improve the bloodline as it continues. So I'll look for an offspring that's slightly better than the parent. And I can't do that if I only have what I consider to be lesser dragons. So what I'll do is I'll go out and I will buy dragons and give them A names that start with the letter A. And that's an outside dragon that usually only has gem genes and is a desirable breed. Then their offspring will have a B name and their offspring will have a C name, so on and so forth. And the idea is that perhaps a guardian dragon that's speckle freckle underbelly will breed with a nocturne that's crystal facet stained, and the colors will either influence the guardian's offspring or the genes will rub off. The preferred gene will pass on to the offspring. Those are the hopes when I'm breeding my dragons, that each generation will get a little bit better. I'm trying to give myself permission to exalt the A dragons instead of trying to do something with their lineage, because they don't really have a lineage. They're just there to bring some genetic diversity into my lair. So I'm trying to break away from focusing on that and just work on what I already have. I went through just now and got rid of a lot of my first generation A named dragons, and it actually freed up a lot of space in my lair, so that's really nice. I'm going to try to, moving forward, not focus so much on trying to continue those lineages of dragons that are not really part of my lair, but just brought in to make things a little bit prettier in my bloodlines. I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I might get back into it. It's just an easy habit to fall into, just starting to care about, but they need to have a surviving offspring. But that's neither here nor there, really. That's just generally what's going on in my lair right now. Focusing on that and also maintaining my raffle lair spreadsheet. I did update it for 2017. I hadn't updated it since 2015. It's largely the same spreadsheet. I just removed a lot of columns that I wasn't using. And when I was going through the coliseum and comparing the younger dragons versus the older dragons, none of them had any familiar drops. The loot was pretty much the same in both instances. The only thing is that the higher level dragons got through the venue faster, which is exactly what I anticipated would occur. If you guys have any meaningful data on this, feel free to let me know. Actually, I encourage it. Please tell me. I would love to know if there's some secret to getting familiars. All right, great. Thanks for watching. Bye.